I am Chris Sharp, as she just said, Chief Technology Officer for Digital Realty. One of the things I'm going to be talking about today is sovereign AI and just what it takes to build. And I think what's great is building off the last panel that we just heard, it takes a complete understanding of all of the partnerships that are required to making it successful. So with that, I just want to break down what AI represents not only to digital, but also to the world. I think one of the things that we're always watching is how do you break apart the fundamental elements of artificial intelligence? One of the things we've seen and we've constantly watched is AI is bigger than anything we've ever experienced before. And so I think most of us at this show, in understanding what the adoption of AI means, how do you support that scale at which it requires? I think the second element that I spend a good bit of time understanding with not only our customers, which are comprised of the enterprise and the hyperscalers, is the rate at which AI is coming to this market. I think one of the things that's misunderstood is that a lot of the different technologies that we've been embracing today, they don't understand the physical infrastructure required to support the scale of the wave and the rate of the wave. And that's where a lot of the data center challenges that we've seen today, you have to really start to pre-plan and pre-engineer infrastructure, not only at the utility level, but also at the asset level. And so being at Digital Realty, what we've done is we've distinguished ourselves as being a part of the community. And so one of the elements that we work with is establishing a master plan for the community and the market. And I'll go into more detail here in a little bit around what it means to build inside of not only Paris, but also Marseille and throughout Europe. And so we'll break apart those individual elements and understanding where that's going. I think the last piece I would give you for AI, which hopefully people are starting to understand, it's not just about the adoption, it's about understanding where it's headed, is we're still early. Many people start to understand that you're doing your emails, it's rewriting your emails, it's doing a bit of ChatGPT and things like that. Still very, very early innings of what AI is going to represent going forward. So the advancements of the models, the advancements of reasoning, that's what's comprising AI today. And so I think very few people, even at this conference, understand the size, the speed, and the early innings associated with the infrastructure that's going to be required for us to be successful. So with that, I just really want to dig into what's inside of AI and how do you understand how to build a sovereign component of that. And I think at the core of sovereignty, and you heard it in the last panel, is no bit leaves the border without your understanding. And so what we're really showcasing there is that in the country and with our assets all throughout Marseille, which has the most dense infrastructure of cables, said differently, more data flows through Marseille that feeds all of Europe than any other facility in Europe. I also want to emphasize that we have facilities closer to the Paris, closer to the city center. How do you tie both of those elements together? That's where connectivity is a critical element of this. 72% of all of the AI European leaders are starting to understand that location and local capabilities of how you tie that all together is absolutely critical to their success. So once you get that tied together, then what do you do with that infrastructure? How do you make decisions out of that data? Only 5% of the accelerated compute is available throughout Europe. So what does that mean? How do you break that apart? So balancing the hardware to your data, and really AI is comprised of a very simplistic solution. It's taking algorithms and putting that against your data and getting decisions out of that. That takes a tremendous amount of accelerated compute. And I think most people understand at this conference that GPUs or any kind of HPC environment, that's dictating the way your data center gets built, the way your sovereign AI cloud is going to perform. And so tying those elements together is what we've been doing for many, many years. 20 plus years at Digital Realty. I've been here 10 years. It's setting the pace, it's setting the understanding to be foundational in that component. So what is that really comprised of? And so I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm going to start with how do you build AI? What are the core components? And you can You can think about it in the most simplistic fashion where it's hardware, software, and power. If you don't think about all of these three things in a conglomerate manner where you can bring them all together efficiently and effectively and have true control over it, you're going to be disintermediated. And so one of the things I would reference is software. There's public models and there's private models. I really want to go slow with that because I think a lot of the world only hears about public models and how you can use tokens as a service, how you can use an OpenAI or a Gemini or you pick it. But there's also, particularly for sovereign AI, there's private models. Private meaning you can run them in your own environment, they're open weights, and you have complete control of it. And you can actually air gap that or cut it off from the rest of the world. That's at the core of what sovereign AI requires. So making sure that you can run the best model requires a hybrid environment. And so many of you probably lived through the cloud era where we had public, private, and then ultimately hybrid, multi-cloud. The same is going to evolve with AI. And so we have the capabilities to do all that interconnectivity on your behalf without ever you having to understand the engineering of the networking underneath it. And so the hardware is at the core of a lot of the solutions you see here today. So hardware being NVIDIA, hardware being a traditional type of Dell system with any kind of accelerated compute chipset underneath it. But what we mean by hardware is watch the landscape. Because I run into more customers that when they're in their journey of building a sovereign AI cloud or any kind of AI aspiration, they buy the chipset first. And so when they buy that chipset, they turn around and they look at their existing data center operator and they look to deploy that. And guess what? More times than not, they can't. It's not just about the total capacity block, it's about the densification of the infrastructure that you have to bring to market. That's what's driving the distinguishing factors for hardware. It's the densification. And so many of you have maybe heard about what is your rack density. And so average today is about 6 kilowatts. The average density for an AI deployment is 20 kilowatts. But the average data center inside of Europe today is around 4 kilowatts a rack. So what that says is you buy these chips and you don't have the right data center plan, you won't be successful in your deployment. Last, power. Power is very binary. And I try to emphasize this. Power is the product. And so we spend a tremendous amount of time working with the different utility operators around what's the total capacity block, and then how you can densify that for the individual deployment and bringing that to market. And so balancing that power element is something that's not just in the short term and working with the utilities, but then also looking at future technologies. So these future technologies like small modular reactors. And so what's nice here in France, we have a lot of nuclear, and you guys are pro-nuclear, which I think is great. And you're going to see different types of nuclear coming to market. So it's solving that generation capability. But then also you have to look at the distribution. And so the interconnection of the grid, many challenges with how do you distribute the power throughout the market. We spend a good bit of time working with our customers, both the hyperscalers and the enterprise, ensuring that they have the right power, because you can understand in the way that a lot of the infrastructure has been coming to market, without power, they become dark. The facility no longer can support the growth and aspirations of a lot of our customers. And so that's where we're constantly looking at the short-term horizon of power and then how we can solve for it in a longer-term solution. And then lastly, which I think a lot of us appreciate, it's the financing. The financial aspect of a lot of this infrastructure coming to market is like nothing we've seen before. The quantums of capital required to support not only this phenomena in the world landscape, but how do you break it down to Europe? And so you can see the 300 billion euros that are coming into Europe just to support the aspirations of AI. We, as Digital Realty, are bringing 5 billion euro just to build out that infrastructure and to make sure that we have the right platform and how that's going to be built going forward. And so being able to ensure that you can finance the long-term durable nature of these facilities is at the core of what we've been doing for many years. And I think I want to leave you with an impression that the rapid innovation of silicon to the permanence of concrete is what we solve and what we constantly look at solving for on your behalf. And so digging into that a little bit more beyond the financing and beyond what's comprised of making AI, what's the role of that facility? What's the role of sovereign AI and how it's going to be coming to market? Data resiliency is at the core of a lot of our customers' aspirations, but they never truly test it, they never truly understand the resiliency associated with that. And so I'll leave you with this, in that sovereign AI is only as smart as the data sets you feed it, but then you also have to control how your data is interacting with other elements of your environment. And so that's where we start to look at, how do you have a little bit of a strategic autonomy? How do you ensure that your models don't have a bias, or that you're really understanding how that model was trained? And that's what I referenced with the software. And so the software that's coming out today, and even over the next course of next year, there's phenomenal differentiators in the way that they're reasoning. And so you really want to watch that strategic differentiation, and that autonomy that you're going to be afforded is through reasoning and being able to put multiple models against each other. That's how you're going to be able to have that autonomy going forward. And I think very particularly throughout Europe, compliance. There's a lot of very strict compliance rules that are coming to market today, and one of the things that we do as the foundational layer is to ensure that you can meet your compliance requirements, that you can understand what you have to do to become compliant and how that's going to support your aspirations going forward. That starts at a very physical level, and so we're always watching how we can enable you in a very distinguished way. And the last piece, security and trust. So security means multiple things, and with the most recent, I'll start at the top, with the most recent impacts with Anthropic and some of the new hacking and security being utilized by a lot of these AI tools, and where there's a lot of autonomy and autonomous nature associated with those threat vectors, you always want to watch that cybersecurity element. But the other element that's particularly to compliance is the physical security. And so being able to distinguish yourself from how your servers are deployed, who has access to your servers, how you roll those servers out, that's a real big factor for us. And one of the other things is trust. So that security and trust, and ensuring that you can design once and deploy many, that's what we've been doing for the 20 plus years that we've been operating our facilities today. We have 300 data centers around the globe, so you can really start to understand that that foundation allows you to land and expand, both globally and through technology. And I think the core basis of what we're always watching and balancing against that is so that we can future-proof your deployments. Because we have so many customers that come into us and don't really understand what they're going to do with AI, but know that they need to do something, and they need to do something soon. And so that's the balancing act that we're always doing with our foundational enablement, is making sure that you can future-proof your architecture with whatever hardware, with whatever software, and your power requirements going forward. And so that's at the core of a lot of the capabilities and the heritage of our engineering talent that we've been doing for many, many years. How have we done that? Again, we work with the largest hyperscalers on earth. I really want to express to you that the R&D efforts that have been happening for many, many years are what's comprised in the data center designs that we've brought to market. One case in point I'll reference is we have a build in Ashburn, Virginia. It's right outside of Ashburn, Virginia in Washington, DC. It's a blueprint with NVIDIA that will house the first Vera Rubin chipset. It's the most advanced chipset that's not even deployed today. So we're always looking at how do you not only support the Blackwells, which are in deployment today, but that 1 year out, 2 years out, or 3 years out. You need to make sure that your data center design can evolve with that fast, iterative innovation that's happening in the silicon, so that you can be successful in being able to take advantage of a lot of those capabilities going forward. So it's that type of work that we're constantly looking at with our partners such as NVIDIA, and also the hyperscaler customers as well. And so at the end of the day, we want to provide you the most versatile environment where you can access a hybrid environment of AI or cloud capabilities that's distributed around the globe, and you can pick and choose how you want to interact with them. And at the core of it, when you really pull it all back together, it is a unique environment for you to create your sovereign cloud, where you can have your compliance, you can have your distinguished trust, you can establish yourself differentiated from any of your competitors. And so that's the type of balance that we've been constantly engineering here at Digital Realty. And so with that, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll be here for the rest of the day if you want to have any questions and we can discuss it in more detail. So thank you again.